They called my shadow kitten useless, until she devoured the strongest beast in the kingdom. Every kitten in the kingdom of Umbra dreamed of one day standing beneath the celestial blossom tree. Its glowing pastel pink branches stretched high into the sapphire sky, scattering sparkling petals across the ancient summoning plaza. Legends said the tree had chosen guardians for thousands of years, gifting every young cat a lifelong companion. Some received majestic griffins, some summoned crystal wolves, the lucky few bonded with dragons, and those dragons decided the fate of kingdoms. Nyx had dreamed of this day since he was little. Unlike the other young cats, he wasn't born into wealth. His family lived in Moonwhisper Village, a peaceful little settlement surrounded by lavender forests, mint green rivers, and rolling hills covered in pale blue flowers. Their tiny cottage was old but warm, decorated with pressed blossoms and lanterns that glowed like tiny stars every evening. Nyx never cared that he wasn't rich. His parents had taught him something far more valuable. Strength earned with kindness lasts forever. He never forgot those words. Nyx's silky black fur shimmered with a faint violet glow whenever moonlight touched it. His emerald eyes sparkled with quiet determination, and his long, luxurious tail flowed behind him like velvet. Many villagers secretly believed black cats brought misfortune. Others whispered that shadow guardians were cursed. Nyx ignored every rumor. He believed character mattered more than appearance. Standing among hundreds of young cats, he gazed at the glowing celestial blossom tree. The Grand Elder stepped forward. His silver beard nearly reached the ground. "Today," he announced, "each of you will receive the guardian destined to walk beside you for life." Excited murmurs swept through the crowd. Near the front stood Lady Celestia, a breathtaking silver Persian cat draped in elegant sapphire robes. She noticed Nyx watching. For a brief moment, she smiled. Months ago, she'd often visited Moonwhisper Village. Everyone assumed she genuinely liked Nyx. She had laughed at his jokes, walked beside him through the blossom fields, promised they'd enter the Royal Guardian Academy together. Nyx believed every word. He smiled back. She looked away. One after another, guardians emerged. A golden falcon, a crystal bear, a frost wolf. Thunderous applause echoed across the plaza. Then came Celestia's turn. She placed her paw upon the glowing roots. Brilliant golden light erupted toward the heavens. A deafening roar shook the entire kingdom. Out of the light descended a magnificent sunfire lion. Its mane blazed with golden flames that didn't burn. Its eyes shone brighter than the morning sun. The crowd gasped. S-rank. A legendary guardian. The kingdom has found its future protector. The royal masters bowed respectfully. Even the Grand Elder smiled. Lady Celestia stood proudly as photographers captured the historic moment. She glanced toward Nyx. This time, she smirked. Nyx felt something inside him tighten. When his name was finally called, the plaza became strangely quiet. He stepped beneath the celestial blossom tree, closed his eyes, placed both paws upon its ancient roots. Nothing happened. Several seconds passed. The whispers began. Did it fail? Impossible. Maybe the tree rejected him. Then, a tiny puff of black smoke drifted upward. Softly, almost shyly, a tiny fluffy black kitten tumbled out of the glowing roots. She landed upside down. Blink, blink, then looked at Nyx with enormous emerald eyes. Meow. Silence. The entire plaza froze. Then laughter exploded from every direction. A kitten. That's it. It doesn't even have armor. It's smaller than a house rabbit. Someone nearly fell over laughing. The cursed black cat summoned another black cat. Even the royal masters struggled to hide their disappointment. The Grand Elder quietly examined the guardian's aura. His expression changed. F-rank. The announcement echoed across the plaza like a death sentence. More laughter. Nyx looked down. The tiny kitten slowly climbed onto his shoulder. She gently rubbed her face against his cheek and purred happily. She didn't understand why everyone was laughing. She was simply happy she had found her person. Nyx smiled. Hello. The kitten purred louder. I think. He scratched behind her ears. I'll call you Umbra. She answered with the happiest little meow anyone had ever heard. Only Nyx smiled. Everyone else pitied him. Across the plaza, Lady Celestia folded her arms. So this is your destiny. Her voice was cold now. I was foolish to think someone like you could ever stand beside me. Nyx stared at her, confused. She walked closer. My future is the Royal Guardian Academy. She rested a paw proudly on her blazing lion. You'll spend your life raising that. The crowd laughed again. She removed the silver ribbon she had once tied around Nyx's wrist as a promise of friendship. Then she let it fall to the ground. I don't associate with failures. Without another word, she turned and walked away beneath a shower of golden petals. Nyx looked at the ribbon, then at Umbra. The tiny kitten stretched, yawned, and fell asleep on his shoulder. For some reason, instead of feeling embarrassed, Nyx smiled. He gently stroked her soft black fur. I don't care what anyone says. I think you're perfect. Umbra opened one sleepy eye. She gave a tiny purr. Neither of them noticed. Far beneath the roots of the celestial blossom tree, an ancient pair of crimson eyes slowly opened. A forgotten voice echoed through the darkness. After 10,000 years, the Devourer has finally found her master. Morning sunlight painted the kingdom of Lamora in gentle shades of peach and gold. Pastel-colored birds fluttered between blooming cherry trees, while crystal butterflies drifted lazily over the academy roads. It should have been the happiest day of Nyx's life. Every new guardian tamer chosen by the celestial blossom tree had been invited to register at the Royal Guardian Academy. It was the most prestigious school in the kingdom. Only the greatest protectors ever graduated from its halls. Nyx adjusted the small satchel hanging over his shoulder as Umbra peeked out from inside. The tiny black kitten yawned. MRP. Nyx smiled. Nervous. Umbra tilted her head. She had no idea where they were going. She was simply happy to be beside him. The enormous academy gates came into view. They were carved from white crystal, decorated with floating blue flowers and statues of legendary guardian tamers. Hundreds of students crowded the entrance. Majestic guardians stood proudly beside them. Towering bears, elegant phoenixes, storm wolves, crystal serpents. Everywhere Nyx looked, guardians radiated incredible magical energy. Then the laughter started again. Look! It's the F rank. The kitten is even smaller today. I've seen stronger squirrels. Umbra looked around innocently. She thought everyone was talking to someone else. She happily waved one tiny paw. A few students laughed even harder. Nyx ignored them. Come on, we're here to learn. As they entered the registration hall, Headmaster Aurelius stood upon a marble platform. He was a magnificent white Maine Coon with silver robes flowing behind him. His golden eyes scanned every student. Welcome, he announced. Today, each of you begins your journey toward protecting Lamora. Applause echoed through the grand hall. Then his eyes landed on Nyx. His expression darkened. You. The room became silent. Nyx stepped forward. Yes, Headmaster. Aurelius opened a crystal scroll. Guardian. He paused. Umbra. He looked at the tiny kitten. F rank. Whispers spread throughout the hall. The headmaster sighed. The Royal Guardian Academy exists to develop guardians capable of defending the kingdom. He closed the scroll. We do not possess the resources to invest in guardians without potential. Nyx blinked. Sir, I'm afraid your admission has been revoked. The room erupted. Some students looked shocked. Most simply nodded. One muttered. I knew it. Nyx couldn't believe what he was hearing. But I received an official invitation. You did. It was issued before your guardian was evaluated. Aurelius folded his paws behind his back. Standards exist for a reason. Lady Celestia stood nearby with her blazing sunfire lion. She smiled faintly. I suppose destiny has corrected its mistake. Several nobles chuckled. Nyx looked down at Umbra. She didn't understand the words. She only sensed his sadness. The kitten climbed onto his shoulder and gently rubbed against his face, purring, trying to comfort him. That tiny gesture hurt far more than the insults. Nyx took a slow breath. I understand. He bowed respectfully. Thank you for your time. Without arguing, without shouting, he turned to leave. Even the headmaster seemed surprised. Most students expected him to beg. Instead, he walked away with quiet dignity. As the academy gates closed behind him, Umbra looked up. Mew. Nyx forced a smile. I guess our adventure starts somewhere else. Several hours later, they wandered through the lavender forests surrounding the capital. The afternoon breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. Umbra chased glowing butterflies, while Nyx searched for berries and fresh water. Despite everything, he couldn't stay angry. If the academy doesn't want us, we'll become stronger on our own. Umbra happily tackled a bouncing blue mushroom. It squeaked. She squeaked back. Nyx laughed. You're fierce. The kitten puffed out her tiny chest proudly. Suddenly, the forest became silent. No birds. No insects. No wind. Umbra froze. Her ears flattened. A deep growl echoed through the trees. Branches snapped. Heavy footsteps shook the ground. From between the towering lavender trunks emerged an enormous mossback boar. Its rocky hide was covered in emerald moss and glowing vines. Its tusks were longer than Nyx was tall. Its scarlet eyes locked onto them. Nyx slowly stepped backward. Easy. The beast snorted. The earth cracked beneath its hooves. Umbra stood in front of Nyx. She was no larger than one of the boar's feet. Nyx's heart pounded. Umbra. The kitten looked back. She gave him the tiniest, most confident smile. Meow. The boar charged. The ground exploded beneath its weight. Nyx instinctively reached for Umbra. Run! Instead, the tiny black kitten leaped forward, straight toward the charging monster. The distance between them vanished in a heartbeat. Everyone would have expected the kitten to be crushed. Instead, Umbra's emerald eyes suddenly flashed crimson. For a fraction of a second, an enormous shadow spread beneath her paws. Ancient symbols glowed across the forest floor. The charging boar stopped instantly. Not because it wanted to. Because it couldn't move. It trembled. Its massive body shook with fear. Nyx stared. Umbra! The tiny kitten opened her mouth. A whisper echoed through the silent forest. A voice far older than the kingdom itself. Devour. A black vortex erupted beneath the terrified beast. Its strength, its speed, its life force. Streams of glowing emerald energy were ripped from its body and flowed directly into Umbra. The colossal boar shrank before Nyx's eyes. Its muscles withered. Its tusks crumbled. Its magical aura disappeared completely. Seconds later, the mighty beast collapsed harmlessly onto the grass. Fast asleep, the forest became quiet again. The shadow vanished. Umbra blinked. Meow. She looked around as if nothing unusual had happened. Then she trotted happily back to Nyx. The kitten rubbed against his leg, asking to be picked up. Nyx slowly lifted her into his arms. His hands trembled. What are you? Umbra simply purred, but deep within her emerald eyes, for the briefest instant, a crimson glow flickered once more. Far beneath the roots of a celestial blossom tree, the ancient voice returned. The first devouring is complete. 99 seals remain. Nyx couldn't stop staring at Umbra. The tiny black kitten sat comfortably in his arms, licking one paw as if she had done nothing more than chase a butterfly. Meow! She tilted her head. Nyx looked past her toward the giant mossback boar lying peacefully among the lavender grass. Only moments earlier, it had possessed enough strength to flatten an entire village. Now, its breathing was slow. Its crimson eyes had faded to a calm amber. It wasn't dead. Its magic had simply vanished. Nyx carefully approached. The beast didn't attack. It barely had the strength to stand. What happened to you? The boar slowly lowered its head toward Umbra. It wasn't showing aggression. It was showing submission. Nyx frowned. Submission. Umbra hopped from his arms and padded over to the enormous beast. Instead of attacking, she gently rubbed her tiny face against its nose. The giant boar let out a soft grunt before disappearing into the forest. Nyx watched until it vanished between the pastel-colored trees. You spared it. Umbra looked up proudly. MRRP. Nyx smiled. So, you only absorb their power. You don't kill them. Umbra purred. For the first time since the summoning ceremony, hope returned to Nyx's heart. The journey continued. As afternoon melted into evening, Lumira's forest transformed into something almost magical. Tiny glowing flowers bloomed beneath every tree. Fireflies painted ribbons of gold through the air. Crystal streams reflected a sky streaked with lavender, pink, and turquoise. Umbra raced ahead, chasing floating petals. Nyx laughed. You really are just a kitten. She bounced onto a fallen log, missed, rolled into a bush. Mew. Nyx couldn't help smiling. Despite the mysterious power hidden inside her, she was still adorable, still innocent, still his little companion. Hours later, they reached an abandoned watchtower. The stone structure overlooked a wide valley covered in pale blue flowers. It would make a perfect place to spend the night. Nyx gathered fallen branches. I'll make a fire. Umbra immediately tried helping. She proudly dragged a stick nearly twice her size. Unfortunately, the stick was attached to an entire tree branch. Nyx laughed. I appreciate the effort. She puffed out her tiny chest. Meow! After several failed attempts, the fire finally crackled to life. Nyx roasted wild mushrooms while Umbra curled beside him. The warmth felt comforting, peaceful. For a little while, everything was quiet. Then, crunch! Nyx looked up. Another branch snapped. Not one, several. Someone was approaching. 3 figures emerged from the trees. Each wore polished silver armor engraved with the Royal Guardian Academy's crest. Behind them stood powerful guardians. A frost wolf, a stone gorilla, a crimson falcon. The lead student smirked. Well, I wasn't expecting to find the Academy's biggest embarrassment. His name was Ktten, one of the Academy's top-ranked first-year students. His frost wolf growled. So, Ktten folded his arms. Did they throw you out already? The others laughed. Nyx remained seated. We don't want any trouble. Ktten stepped closer. But I do. His eyes settled on Umbra. There she is. The useless kitten. Umbra looked up. Meow. The students burst into laughter. Ktten crouched in front of her. I've seen stronger babies. He reached toward Umbra. Nyx instantly stood. Don't touch her. Ktten slowly looked at him. Or what? The atmosphere changed. Nyx's emerald eyes hardened. I said, don't touch her. Ktten laughed. You think that little fur ball can stop me? His frost wolf stepped forward. Its icy breath covered the grass with frost. Umbra calmly walked in front of Nyx. Tiny, silent, fearless. The stone gorilla beat its chest. The crimson falcon screeched from above. 3 powerful guardians. Against 1 tiny kitten. Ktten smiled. This won't even count as training. He pointed at Umbra. Freeze her. The frost wolf lunged. Its jaws glowed with icy magic. Umbra didn't move. The wolf leaped. 5 meters. 4, 3, 2, 1. Its claws stopped in midair. Everything froze. Not from ice. From fear. The wolf whimpered. Its entire body trembled uncontrollably. Ktten frowned. What are you doing? The wolf refused to move. Its instincts screamed one terrifying truth. The tiny kitten standing before it was a predator beyond its understanding. Umbra slowly raised one paw. The shadows beneath the forest stretched unnaturally long. Ancient symbols appeared once again. Kttten's smile disappeared. What is that? Umbra whispered one word. Devour. Dark ribbons burst from the earth. They wrapped around the frost wolf before anyone could react. Its icy aura shattered into countless blue fragments. Streams of shimmering energy rushed toward Umbra. The kitten's tiny body glowed. Blue markings briefly appeared beneath her black fur. Her emerald eyes flashed. Then, a burst of cold wind swept across the valley. Tiny snowflakes began drifting through the warm summer air. Umbra blinked. She sneezed. Achoo! A tiny puff of ice escaped her nose. Nick stared. Did you just? Umbra looked surprised too. She accidentally froze a nearby mushroom solid. Meow! Ktten stumbled backward. No! That's impossible. The frost wolf lay on the ground, exhausted but alive. Its power, gone. Umbra took one curious step forward. The frost wolf immediately rolled onto its back, exposing its belly in surrender. Umbra happily rubbed noses with it. The wolf wagged its tail. Ktten couldn't believe his eyes. My guardian is bowing. The stone gorilla slowly backed away. The crimson falcon landed behind its master. Neither guardian wanted to fight. Every instinct told them exactly what Umbra was. Not prey. Not an ordinary beast. Something ancient. Something that existed far above the natural order. Ktten swallowed. We're leaving. He didn't wait for an answer. The three students turned and ran into the forest as fast as they could. Their guardians followed without looking back. Silence returned. Snowflakes continued drifting gently around Umbra. The tiny kitten looked at one frozen flower, touched it, then smiled proudly. MRP. Nick knelt beside her. So, you absorbed ice magic too. Umbra purred. Then, without warning, a faint crack appeared on the black crescent-shaped marking on her forehead. Light seeped through it. The crack widened. A whisper echoed inside Nix's mind. First seal weakened. Umbra looked up at him. For just a heartbeat, her fluffy little shadow stretched across the valley, taking the shape of a colossal feline with glowing crimson eyes and wings that covered the sky. Then it vanished, as if it had never been there. Nix's heartbeat quickened. He finally understood one thing. Umbra wasn't becoming stronger. She was becoming what she had always been. The news spread through the Royal Guardian Academy before sunrise. Not because anyone had seen the battle clearly, but because Ktten had returned looking like he'd seen a ghost. His frost wolf refused to leave his side. It no longer growled at strangers. It no longer answered commands. Every few minutes, it would stop whatever it was doing and stare toward the distant lavender forest, as if praying it would never meet that tiny black kitten again. Inside the Academy's grand hall, dozens of instructors listened as Ktten stumbled through his report. She didn't attack first. She only stood there. Then shadows appeared. My frost wolf couldn't move. An instructor frowned. Fear magic. Ktten shook his head. No. It was worse. It wanted to run. It completely surrendered. Murmurs filled the room. One of the professors scoffed. Impossible. An F-rank guardian cannot suppress an A-rank beast. Another nodded. Perhaps your guardian was simply frightened. Ktten slammed both paws onto the table. I know what fear looks like. This wasn't fear. It was instinct. It was like... He struggled to find the words. Like standing in front of the king of all predators. The room fell silent. Headmaster Aurelius sat quietly at the end of the chamber. He hadn't spoken once. Instead, he stared at a centuries-old book lying open before him. Its yellowed pages contained sketches of long-extinct magical beasts. One illustration caught his attention. A tiny black feline, no larger than a house kitten. Beneath the drawing, most of the writing had faded with time. Only one sentence remained readable. Never judge the devourer by its first form. The headmaster slowly closed the book. Interesting. Meanwhile, Nix and Umbra continued deeper into the Whispering Wilds. The farther they traveled from civilization, the more magical the world became. Trees shimmered with soft turquoise leaves. Pink waterfalls flowed into crystal-clear lakes. Tiny glowing fish floated through the air instead of water. Umbra chased them enthusiastically. She leaped, missed, leaped again, missed again. Nix laughed. For someone terrifying every beast in the kingdom, you're not very good at catching fish. Umbra sat down dramatically. MRP. She looked offended. Nix scratched behind her ears. You'll get them eventually. She instantly forgave him. By midday, they reached Hunter's Crossing. It was a small frontier town where guardian tamers stopped before entering the dangerous northern wilderness. Unlike the capital, nobody laughed when they saw Nix. Most hunters were too busy cleaning weapons or treating injured guardians. Strength mattered here, not appearances. An elderly tortoiseshell cat waved from a wooden workshop. You there? Nix walked over. Yes. The old cat smiled warmly. You've got a good heart. Nix blinked. How can you tell? The old craftsman chuckled. Because that kitten trusts you completely. Umbra immediately climbed onto the counter and sniffed every tool she could find. The craftsman laughed. Curious little thing. He reached into a cabinet and pulled out a small leather collar decorated with a single moonstone. I made this years ago. It never found an owner. He gently fastened it around Umbra's neck. The moonstone shimmered beautifully against her black fur. Umbra admired herself in a polished piece of metal. Meow. Nyx smiled. She loves it. The old cat nodded. Then it's hers. Free of charge. Nyx tried to protest. I can't accept. You can. The craftsman's expression softened. Many hunters judge guardians by their size. I judge them by the way they look at their partner. He pointed toward Umbra. That little one would die to protect you. Nyx looked down. Umbra was already trying to chew the moonstone. He laughed. I think you're right. Suddenly, a loud bell rang across Hunter's Crossing. Once. Twice. Then continuously. Every hunter froze. The old craftsman's smile vanished. No. Another bell joined the first. Then another. Panic spread through the streets. Beast stampede. Close the gates. Everyone to the walls. Nyx rushed outside. Far beyond the town. A cloud of dust rose into the pastel sky. The ground trembled. Hundreds of magical beasts raced toward Hunter's Crossing. Crystal wolves. Stone boars. Iron antlers. Flame hares. Sky raptors. Dozens. Then hundreds. Running together as though fleeing something even more terrifying. The guards turned pale. There are too many. We can't stop them all. The captain shouted. Protect the civilians. Chaos erupted. Families rushed indoors. Hunters summoned their guardians. Massive defensive barriers rose around the town. Nyx tightened his grip on Umbra. We should help. Before he could move, a deep roar echoed across the valley. Every charging beast stopped instantly. One by one, they lowered their heads, not toward the town, toward Umbra. The entire valley became silent. Hundreds of magical beasts knelt. The hunters stared in disbelief. What are they doing? Umbra slowly climbed onto a large boulder. The tiny black kitten looked over the enormous herd. She gave one gentle little meow. Mew. Immediately, every beast turned around, without attacking, without roaring, without destroying anything. They calmly walked back into the forest. Hundreds of powerful magical creatures, obeying the quiet command of a kitten. The entire town stood frozen. No one spoke. No one moved. The old craftsman whispered the only words anyone could manage. Who is that little cat? Nyx looked at Umbra. She simply smiled, proud that she had helped. She had no idea that for the first time, someone had witnessed her impossible authority over other beasts. And hidden high above the valley, perched silently atop a cliff, a hooded figure watched everything. A scar crossed his left eye. Beside him sat an enormous midnight blue wyvern. The stranger smiled. So, I finally found you, little devourer. The hooded stranger didn't blink. From atop the cliff, his golden eyes remained fixed on the tiny black kitten wearing the moonstone collar. Around him, the wind itself had become unnaturally still. His guardian, a massive midnight blue wyvern with silver horns, lowered its head. For the first time in years, the legendary beast looked uneasy. The hunter slowly smiled. So, the stories were true. Hunter's Crossing erupted into celebration. Children ran through the streets laughing. Merchants rang brass bells. The hunters who had prepared for certain death couldn't stop talking about what they had witnessed. A kitten stopped a beast stampede. No, they obeyed her. I've never seen anything like it. Nyx felt uncomfortable. He wasn't looking for attention. He simply wanted somewhere safe to sleep. The elderly craftsman found him sitting beside the town fountain. You've caused quite a stir. Nyx chuckled awkwardly. I didn't mean to. Umbra proudly chased her own tail nearby. After 3 full circles, she became dizzy. MRP. The old cat laughed. Hard to believe that's the same little guardian. Nyx smiled. Honestly, I still don't understand her either. The craftsman became thoughtful. There may be someone who does. He pointed north. 3 days from here lives an old guardian sage. They say he knows every magical beast that has ever existed. Nyx's ears perked up. You think he could tell me what Umbra is? It's possible. He rarely accepts visitors. But if anyone knows, it's him. Nyx looked toward the distant mountains. Maybe, finally, someone could answer the questions that had haunted him since the summoning ceremony. That evening, the town hosted a feast in honor of the hunters. Long wooden tables filled the square. Lanterns floated into the twilight sky. Fresh bread, berry pies, cream stew, warm milk. Umbra sampled everything. She stole one fish, then another, then accidentally fell asleep face first inside a bowl of cream. Nyx gently lifted her out. Her tiny nose was completely white. He couldn't stop laughing. You've made quite a mess. Umbra blinked sleepily. Meow. Several children gathered around. Instead of laughing cruelly, they giggled warmly. She's adorable. Can we pet her? Umbra immediately rolled onto her back for belly rubs. Within minutes, she had convinced everyone she was the cutest guardian in the kingdom. Nyx watched quietly. For the first time, nobody cared that she was small. High above the celebration, golden eyes watched from the darkness. The hooded hunter remained hidden atop a nearby rooftop. His wyvern whispered telepathically, "Master, should we capture it tonight?" The hunter shook his head. "No. If that kitten truly possesses the Devourer's blood, forcing a battle now would be foolish." The wyvern looked surprised. "You fear it?" The hunter smiled. "I respect unknown monsters." Midnight. Most of Hunter's Crossing slept peacefully. Only the guards remained awake. Nyx rested inside the guest lodge. Umbra slept across his chest. She purred softly. Outside, a shadow moved across the rooftops. Silent. Fast. Almost impossible to notice. Then another. Then another. 3 masked figures. Professional beast poachers. One whispered, "Target confirmed." "The black kitten." Another nodded. The collector offered 100,000 gold. The leader smiled. "We're rich." Inside the room, Umbra's ears twitched. Her eyes opened instantly. She stopped purring. Nyx continued sleeping. The window slid open without a sound. One of the thieves slipped inside. He carried a crystal sleeping dart. "Easy." He slowly reached toward Umbra. The kitten looked directly at him. "Meow." The thief smiled. "Good kitty." He fired. The dart never reached her. It froze in midair. The room darkened. Not because the lights went out. Because the shadows had suddenly become alive. The thief's heartbeat accelerated. Cold sweat formed beneath his mask. He couldn't breathe. Umbra stood. No longer sleepy. No longer playful. The tiny kitten looked into his eyes. Her pupils narrowed into thin crimson slits. The thief's knees buckled. I can't move." His companions rushed through the window. What happened? Then they saw Umbra. Immediately, they froze too. Outside, every dog in town began barking. The horses panicked. Even the hunter's guardians whimpered uneasily. A pressure unlike anything they had ever felt spread through Hunter's Crossing. Nyx slowly opened his eyes. "Umbra!" The kitten never looked away from the intruders. Dark ribbons curled around her tiny paws. The room seemed too small to contain whatever was awakening inside her. The lead thief finally managed to whisper, "What are you?" Umbra took one tiny step forward. "Devour." The shadows exploded. Black tendrils wrapped around the 3 thieves. Not to steal their lives, only their strength. Streams of glowing silver energy poured from their bodies into Umbra. The thieves collapsed unconscious. Alive, but completely powerless. The darkness disappeared. Umbra blinked. Then, she sneezed. Achoo! The terrifying atmosphere vanished instantly. She trotted back to Nyx, curled up against him, and fell asleep as though nothing had happened. Nyx looked at the unconscious thieves, then at the peacefully sleeping kitten. He sighed. "I really need someone to explain you." At sunrise, the town guards arrived. After hearing what had happened, the captain turned pale. He removed a sealed letter from one thief's cloak. The wax seal bore a symbol no ordinary criminal would possess. A silver eye, wrapped by black wings. The old craftsman gasped. "The Order of Collectors." The captain nodded grimly. "They don't steal treasure. They collect living legends." Nyx frowned. "Living legends?" The captain looked directly at Umbra. "They've been hunting mythical guardians for hundreds of years. If they've come for your little companion..." He paused. "They won't stop." Far away, the hooded hunter watched Nyx leave the town through the northern gate. He smiled beneath his cloak. "Good. Keep moving. You're leading me exactly where I want to go." Beside him, the great wyvern spread its wings. The hunter whispered one final sentence before disappearing into the morning mist. "Let's see how many beasts your little guardian can devour before I claim her for myself." The road north grew quieter with every mile. Hunter's Crossing disappeared behind rolling hills of pale lavender grass, and soon the only sounds were birdsong, rustling leaves, and Umbra chasing butterflies that somehow always escaped her. Nyx smiled. "For the strongest guardian in the kingdom, you're surprisingly terrible at hunting." Umbra looked offended. She crouched low. Her fluffy tail twitched. A glowing butterfly landed right on her nose. "Meow!" The butterfly flew away. Nyx laughed so hard, he nearly fell off the path. By sunset, the landscape changed completely. Towering pastel blue mountains surrounded an ancient valley hidden beneath drifting clouds. At its center stood a gigantic silver tree. Its branches stretched wider than an entire castle. Thousands of glowing leaves shimmered softly like tiny stars. Nestled beneath the tree was a simple wooden cottage. No guards, no walls, no grand palace, just peace. Nyx whispered, "This must be it." Outside the cottage sat an elderly ragdoll cat wearing faded green robes. His snowy white fur flowed almost to the ground. He calmly watered flowers with an old wooden bucket. Without looking up, he spoke. "You've taken your time." Nyx froze. "You knew we were coming?" The old cat smiled. "I've known for 3 days." Umbra immediately sprinted toward him. Instead of introducing herself, she climbed straight into his lap. "MRRP." The old sage burst into warm laughter. "So it's true. You're still affectionate." Nyx blinked. "Still." The old cat gently scratched behind Umbra's ears. She purred louder than ever. I suppose introductions are appropriate. He bowed politely. I am Sage Orion. For the last 70 years, I've studied every guardian born beneath the celestial blossom tree. Nyx's heart raced. Can you tell me what Umbra is? Orion's smile faded. He looked into Umbra's emerald eyes. For several seconds, neither of them moved. Then, the old sage slowly stood. His expression had completely changed. He bowed. Not to Nyx. To Umbra. Nyx stared. Master! The elderly cat remained bowed. I greet the first guardian. Silence. Even the wind seemed to stop. Nyx shook his head. There must be some mistake. She's just a kitten. Orion smiled gently. That's exactly what the world is supposed to believe. Inside the cottage, ancient books covered every wall. Crystal maps floated through the air. Old paintings depicted legendary guardians long forgotten by history. One enormous tapestry immediately caught Nyx's attention. It showed a colossal black feline standing beneath a sky full of stars. Its wings stretched across the heavens. Its emerald eyes glowed brighter than moons. Around it, thousands of magical beasts knelt. Nyx slowly approached. It looks like Umbra. It is. Nyx turned. What? Orion carefully unrolled an ancient scroll. This guardian has gone by many names. The Endless Shadow. The First Beast. The Queen of Predators. The Devourer. He paused, but none of those were its true name. He looked at Umbra. She was busy trying to climb onto a bookshelf. The ancient texts simply called her the First Guardian. Nyx frowned. I don't understand. Orion nodded. Very few do. He pointed toward another illustration. Thousands of years ago, the world had not belonged to cats. It had belonged to magical beasts. Dragons ruled the skies. Leviathans ruled the oceans. Titans ruled the mountains. The first guardian tamers didn't exist. Cats were prey. Until one guardian appeared. A mysterious black feline capable of doing something no beast should ever be able to do. Devour. Every defeated enemy made her stronger. Every absorbed ability became her own. She didn't merely grow. She evolved endlessly. Until eventually, no creature in existence could challenge her. Nyx looked at Umbra. The kitten had somehow gotten her head stuck inside a clay flower pot. MRRPH. He hurried over and gently pulled it off. She smiled proudly, as though she'd accomplished something remarkable. Nyx couldn't help laughing. This little troublemaker? Orion chuckled. She's forgotten almost everything. What do you mean? The seals. The sage walked toward a stone table. Upon it rested 12 black crystal fragments. Only one showed a faint crack. The first guardian became too powerful. No kingdom, no army, no force in the world could stop her. So, the ancient guardian kings sealed her memories. They divided her power into 100 seals. Nyx immediately remembered the mysterious voice after Umbra's first devouring. 99 seals remain. He whispered the words without realizing. Orion's eyes widened. You've heard the voice. Nyx nodded slowly. I thought I imagined it. You didn't. The devourer still sleeps within Umbra. Each powerful beast she devours weakens another seal. Nyx looked horrified. So eventually, she'll become that. He pointed toward the giant celestial guardian in the tapestry. Orion remained silent for several moments. Then, he smiled warmly. No. Nyx blinked. No. The first guardian had no master. She walked alone. He looked directly into Nyx's eyes. Umbra does. The old sage knelt beside the kitten. She immediately climbed onto his shoulder. You've already changed history. How? Because you've taught the strongest guardian in existence. Kindness. Nyx looked down. He remembered every moment. Sharing food. Scratching behind her ears. Calling her perfect when the entire kingdom laughed. Treating her like family. Not a weapon. Orion nodded. Power reflects the heart that guides it. If Umbra had chosen someone cruel, the old sage's smile disappeared. The world would already be ending. Suddenly, a deafening explosion echoed across the valley. The cottage shook violently. Books crashed from their shelves. Outside, birds scattered into the sky. Orion's expression darkened instantly. No! He rushed outside. Far across the valley, columns of black smoke rose into the pastel sky. An entire section of forest had erupted into flames. A familiar symbol burned above the smoke. A silver eye, wrapped in black wings. Nyx's heart sank. The collectors. Orion nodded. They found us. Another explosion thundered through the mountains. Then another. The old sage looked toward Nyx. There isn't much time. He reached beneath his robes and removed a small crystal pendant shaped like a crescent moon. Take this. Nyx accepted it. What is it? It belonged to the last guardian king. It will help you find the celestial ruins. The only place where Umbra's true history still exists. Nyx looked confused. What about you? Orion smiled peacefully. I'm old. I've lived a wonderful life. But your journey, he gently placed a paw on Nyx's shoulder, is only beginning. Before Nyx could answer, a shadow covered the valley. Both of them slowly looked up, hovering above the burning forest. with wings large enough to eclipse the evening sun, was the midnight blue wyvern, standing upon its back. The hooded hunter removed his cloak for the very first time. His silver armor gleamed beneath the fading light. A long scar crossed one golden eye. He smiled. I've searched 20 years for the Devourer. His gaze settled on Umbra. Today, my hunt ends. The valley fell silent. Even the flames seemed to stop dancing. High above the silver tree, the midnight blue wyvern beat its enormous wings only once, yet the forest sent flower petals and leaves spiraling through the air. The hunter stepped calmly from its back. Instead of falling, he simply walked down invisible platforms of shimmering light until his boots touched the grass. Nyx instinctively moved in front of Umbra. The kitten peeked around his leg. Meow! The hunter smiled. So, you're even smaller than I imagined. Sage Orion stepped forward. His old wooden staff struck the ground once. You shouldn't have come here, Kale. Nyx looked between them. You know him. The hunter removed his gloves. I was once a student. Nyx blinked. What? Kale chuckled. The old man taught me everything I know. Tracking, guardian lore, beast taming, survival. His smile slowly disappeared, but he refused to teach me the only thing that mattered. Where to find the Devourer. Orion sighed. I refused because I knew exactly what would happen if you found her. Kale's golden eyes narrowed. You mean I'd finally become strong enough to protect this kingdom? Nyx frowned. Protect it? Kale laughed. That's what he never understood. He slowly turned toward Nyx. Tell me, how many villages have you seen destroyed by magical beasts? Nyx remained silent. Kale answered his own question. I've seen 143. His voice became quieter. My parents died protecting a frontier town. My sister, he stopped for a moment, was taken by dragons. The kingdom called them heroes. I called them forgotten. Silence settled over the valley. I swore that no beast would ever threaten another innocent life. He looked directly at Umbra. And she can make that happen. Nyx shook his head. By turning her into a weapon. Kale's expression hardened. No. By ending every dangerous beast forever. He pointed toward Umbra. With her power, we can absorb every monster that threatens this world. No more beast stampedes. No more dragon attacks. No more orphan kittens. Peace. Nyx hesitated. For just a moment, the idea sounded almost reasonable. But then, he looked down. Umbra was chasing a glowing leaf, completely unaware that two adults were discussing using her as a living weapon. Nyx smiled softly. No. Kale sighed. I was hoping you'd say yes. The wyvern stepped forward. Its silver eyes remained fixed on Umbra. Instead of roaring, it lowered its head. Umbra tilted hers. Mew. To everyone's surprise, the enormous dragon gently nudged her tiny forehead, almost affectionately. Kale noticed Nyx's confusion. His name is Noctis. We've been together for 23 years. He doesn't want to hurt her. Noctis looked at Umbra with unmistakable respect. Almost like greeting royalty. Umbra happily booped his nose with one tiny paw. The gigantic wyvern closed his eyes. He looked relieved. Kale took one step forward. I'm giving you one chance. Come willingly. I'll spend the rest of my life protecting her. Nyx answered immediately. No. Kale nodded. I expected that. He raised one hand. Noctis. The wyvern spread his wings. Magic flooded the valley. The ground cracked. Trees bent beneath the pressure. Nyx could barely breathe. So, this is an S-rank guardian. Kale corrected him. No. He surpassed S-rank years ago. Orion slammed his staff into the earth. Emerald light erupted around the cottage. A massive barrier surrounded the valley. Nyx! The old sage shouted. Take Umbra and run. Nyx didn't hesitate. He scooped Umbra into his arms. Come on. The kitten looked confused. MRP. Behind them, the barrier shattered. Noctis hadn't even attacked. He had merely spread his wings. Kale looked genuinely disappointed. I didn't want this. Orion smiled sadly. You always confuse strength with control. The old sage thrust his staff forward. Hundreds of glowing vines burst from the earth. They wrapped around Noctis. The dragon roared. The mountains trembled. Kale raised 2 fingers. The wyvern vanished. Not by moving. He simply became too fast to see. An instant later, every vine had been sliced apart. Orion stared. Impossible. Kale lowered his hand. I've grown stronger since we last met. Meanwhile, Nyx raced through the forest. Branches whipped past. Umbra clung tightly to his shoulder. Behind them, the battle shook the mountains. Explosions echoed endlessly. Nyx knew they couldn't outrun a flying guardian. There has to be somewhere. The crescent moon pendant around his neck suddenly glowed. A beam of pale silver light shot into the forest. It pointed toward a narrow canyon hidden beneath cascading waterfalls. Nyx followed without thinking. The light grew brighter. Brighter. Then, the canyon wall split open. A hidden stone passage revealed itself. Ancient symbols covered every surface. Nyx stared. The pendant. It opened it. As soon as he stepped inside, the stone entrance sealed itself. Complete silence. No sounds from outside. No explosions. Only darkness. Until hundreds of crystal lights slowly illuminated the tunnel. Umbra jumped from his shoulder. She walked forward confidently, as though she had been here before. Outside, Kale stood before the sealed canyon wall. He placed one hand against the stone, then smiled. The celestial ruins. So, the old stories were true after all. Noctis landed beside him. Shall I destroy the entrance? Kale shook his head. No. If those ruins accepted him, they'll reject force. He folded his arms. We wait. Inside the hidden passage, Umbra suddenly stopped. At the end of the tunnel stood two colossal stone statues, ancient black feline guardians, each over 30 feet tall. The moment Umbra stepped between them, their eyes began glowing emerald green. The entire mountain started to tremble. A deep voice echoed through the ruins. Identity confirmed. Welcome home. First guardian. The mountain rumbled so violently that dust drifted from the ancient ceiling. Nyx instinctively reached for Umbra. The tiny kitten calmly continued walking. Her fluffy tail swayed from side to side as though she were simply exploring another room. The two colossal stone guardians watched her pass. Their emerald eyes followed every tiny step. Then, both statues slowly lowered themselves onto one knee. The sound echoed throughout the entire mountain. Nyx stopped breathing. There! Bowing. A deep voice resonated through the ruins. The first guardian has returned. Crystal torches burst to life one after another, illuminating an enormous underground city carved into the heart of the mountain. Nyx's eyes widened. It wasn't just ruins. It had once been a kingdom. Pastel crystal towers stretched toward the cavern ceiling. Beautiful bridges crossed glowing rivers of liquid starlight. Gardens of luminous flowers bloomed untouched despite the passing of thousands of years. Everything was silent, frozen in time. Umbra walked through the ancient streets as if she knew every path. Deep inside the mountain, an enormous circular chamber waited. At its center floated a crystal taller than a castle. Inside the crystal, a single black feather slowly drifted through glowing silver light. Nyx frowned. A feather? The ancient voice answered. The first memory. Umbra tilted her head. Mew. The crystal responded immediately. It shattered. Not violently. Softly. Like flower petals drifting apart. The black feather floated gently toward Umbra. Before Nyx could react, it dissolved into tiny stars. They disappeared into her forehead. The crescent-shaped mark above her eyes glowed brightly. A loud crack echoed. Another seal broke. Only slightly. Tiny streams of silver light spread beneath Umbra's fur. For the first time, her body began to change. Nyx watched in amazement. Umbra wasn't growing much larger. She remained kitten-sized, but her fluffy fur became even softer and longer, flowing elegantly around her paws and chest. Silver markings appeared around her emerald eyes before fading into the black fur. Her tail became fuller, more graceful. She looked older, more majestic, yet still impossibly adorable. Umbra looked down at herself. MRP. She spun in a circle, trying to see her own tail. Nyx laughed. I think you got even prettier. Umbra immediately purred. Without warning, the chamber darkened. The crystal river surrounding the city began glowing brighter. Countless ghostly figures appeared. Transparent cats, wearing ancient armor. Guardian tamers from another age. Hundreds of them. None spoke. One by one, they slowly knelt before Umbra. Nyx felt goosebumps beneath his fur. An elderly ghost stepped forward. His crown shimmered like moonlight. He bowed deeply. My queen. Umbra looked behind herself. Meow. The ghost smiled sadly. Even after all these ages, you still don't remember. Images suddenly flooded the chamber. Not illusions. Memories. Nyx found himself standing inside another world. A kingdom thousands of years in the past. Young cats fled through burning streets. Gigantic dragons descended from crimson skies. Mountain-sized beasts crushed entire cities. The world was losing. Then, a black guardian appeared. She wasn't enormous. She was elegant, graceful, about the size of a horse. Her emerald eyes glowed with quiet determination. She looked astonishingly similar to Umbra, only older. Every beast she defeated dissolved into ribbons of light. Their power flowed into her. Again, and again, and again. With every battle, she became stronger, until finally, the dragons began retreating. The monsters fled. Hope returned to the world. Nyx smiled. So, you really did save everyone. The memory changed. Suddenly, the celebrations ended. Kings, nobles, military leaders, all stared at the guardian with fear. One whispered, if she ever turns against us, no army could stop her. Another nodded, we must act first. Nyx's smile disappeared. No. The ancient guardian looked confused as magical chains appeared around her. She didn't fight. She trusted them. 100 crystal seals surrounded her. The last thing she saw, before darkness consumed her, was the very kingdom she had saved, turning against her. The vision shattered. Nyx stood frozen. They betrayed you. Umbra looked at him. She didn't understand why tears had begun rolling down his face. She gently rubbed against his leg. MRP. Nyx knelt and hugged her tightly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The kitten licked one of his tears from his cheek. The ghostly king lowered his head. We failed her. We feared power more than we honored sacrifice. Our greatest protector became our greatest shame. Silence filled the chamber. Then the king smiled at Nyx. But history has given her another chance. He looked directly into Nyx's eyes. You. Nyx blinked. Me. You were the first. The first master who never treated her as a weapon. The king gestured toward Umbra. She has smiled more in the past few days than she did during centuries of war. Nyx looked at the tiny kitten. She was now trying to catch glowing lights floating around the chamber, completely oblivious to the heartbreaking memories surrounding her. Suddenly, a deafening boom shook the mountain. The ghost vanished. Cracks spread across the chamber ceiling. Another explosion. Then another. Dust rained from above. The ghost king's expression hardened. He's here, outside the mountain. Kale stood with Noctis before the sealed entrance. His hand rested against the ancient stone. Golden runes spread beneath his fingers. I was hoping not to do this. He looked at his guardian. Noctis. The wyvern inhaled deeply. Its chest glowed with blinding blue light. The mountains themselves trembled. Then, a beam of compressed celestial energy erupted from its mouth. The blast struck the entrance. The entire mountain shook. Inside the ruins, one of the gigantic stone guardians cracked down the middle. Nyx's heart sank. He's breaking in. The ghost king turned toward Umbra. There is one final trial. If you wish to protect your master, you must awaken by your own choice. The chamber floor opened. Far below, an ancient arena slowly rose from the darkness. At its center stood a creature unlike anything Nyx had ever seen. A colossal lion sculpted from black crystal. Its emerald eyes snapped open. The ancient voice echoed one final time. Trial of the first guardian. Begin. The arena rose from the depths of the mountain like an ancient throne. Massive stone pillars emerged one after another, each engraved with glowing silver runes older than the kingdom itself. The air felt heavy, not with fear, with history. Nyx slowly stepped onto the circular platform. Umbra stood beside him. For the first time since they had met, she wasn't looking around curiously. She was staring directly ahead, waiting. Across the arena, the colossal black crystal lion slowly rose to its feet. It was nearly 40 feet tall. Its body shimmered like polished obsidian beneath the pale crystal light. Its emerald eyes glowed with quiet intelligence. It wasn't enraged. It wasn't hungry. It simply watched Umbra. The ancient voice echoed through the chamber. Guardian Sentinel. Last protector of the first guardian. Trial commence. The enormous lion took one slow step. The arena shook. Another step. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Nyx instinctively moved in front of Umbra. No. I'll protect you. Umbra gently nudged his leg. Mew. She walked around him. Nyx reached for her. Umbra. The tiny kitten looked back. For the first time, she shook her head. Just once. A simple little motion. As if she were saying, this one is mine. Outside the mountain. Another blast from Noctis struck the ancient gate. Stone cracked. The first statue guarding the entrance lost an arm. Kale frowned. This barrier is regenerating. Noctis lowered his massive head. The ruins are buying them time. Kale looked toward the sky. I hope you're worthy of it, little one. Inside, the crystal lion lowered its head. Then, it attacked. Not with claws. Not with teeth. It vanished. Nyx's eyes widened. So fast. A black blur crossed the arena. Umbra disappeared at the exact same moment. Crash. A shockwave erupted across the platform. The two guardians had collided in midair. The crystal lion landed gracefully. Umbra rolled across the floor before springing back onto her paws. MRP. She looked excited. Almost playful. The lion nodded. Almost approvingly. It attacked again. This time, its claws ignited with emerald fire. Umbra darted beneath the strike. The flaming claws carved a canyon through solid stone. The arena split apart. Nyx stumbled backward. One direct hit would have ended the battle instantly. Umbra rushed forward. Tiny paws. Tiny body. Against a guardian hundreds of times her size. She leaped. Swiped once. The crystal lion blocked effortlessly. The impact sent Umbra tumbling across the arena. She landed upside down. Her little paws pointing toward the ceiling. Mew. Nyx almost laughed despite the danger. She quickly flipped herself upright. Shook the dust from her fur. Then glared at the lion. The enormous guardian blinked. If Nyx didn't know better, he could have sworn. The lion was smiling. The battle continued. Minutes passed. Again. And again. The lion struck. Umbra dodged. She counterattacked. The lion blocked. Neither guardian seemed interested in ending the fight. They were testing each other. Nyx finally realized something. It's not trying to kill her. The ghostly king appeared beside him. No. It is asking one question. What question? The king smiled sadly. Has she remembered who she truly is? The lion suddenly roared. The sound echoed through every chamber of the mountain. Its body exploded with emerald light. Crystal armor formed across its legs. Massive wings unfolded from its back. Its power multiplied several times over. Umbra froze. She had never seen anything like it. The lion lowered its head. One final challenge. Outside, the mountain entrance finally shattered. Kale stepped through the dust. Noctis followed behind him. Ancient alarms echoed through the ruins. Intruder detected. Guardian vault breached. Kale ignored them. He simply began walking. I'll only take the Devourer. I have no interest in your relics. Back in the arena, the lion launched itself forward. Its wings filled the chamber. Emerald flames swallowed the battlefield. Nyx screamed, Umbra! The tiny kitten stood perfectly still. She closed her eyes. For one heartbeat, everything became silent. Then, a memory surfaced. Not words, not images, a feeling. A small black kitten, being held gently by someone, being told, you don't have to be afraid anymore. The memory wasn't ancient. It wasn't from thousands of years ago. It was from only a few days earlier. Nyx, calling her perfect, sharing his food, protecting her when everyone laughed, choosing her, before he knew she was powerful. Umbra slowly opened her eyes. The emerald flames reflected inside them. She smiled, a warm, happy, little smile. Meow! Darkness spread beneath her paws. Not violent darkness. Gentle, comforting, like a mother's embrace. The lion stopped. It stared into Umbra's eyes. Then, to everyone's astonishment, the colossal guardian slowly lowered itself. One knee, then the other. Finally, it bowed its head completely. The arena fell silent. The ancient voice echoed once more. Trial complete. The first guardian has chosen her heart. Over her power, the black crystal lion dissolved into millions of sparkling fragments. They swirled around Umbra like fireflies. One by one, they entered her body, not because she devoured them, because they were freely given. Warm emerald light surrounded the tiny kitten. The crescent seal on her forehead shattered completely. A second seal had been broken. Umbra grew only slightly. She was now the size of a young cat instead of a tiny kitten. Her luxurious black fur flowed almost to the ground. Silver patterns shimmered faintly beneath her coat. A soft aura surrounded her like moonlight. Nyx stared in amazement. Umbra! She looked at him, ran straight across the arena, and leaped into his arms. MRP! Nyx laughed through tears. You still want cuddles? She purred louder than ever. At that exact moment, a slow clap echoed through the chamber. Nyx's smile disappeared. Kale stepped into the arena. Behind him, Noctis emerged from the shadows. The mighty wyvern looked at Umbra's new form, then respectfully lowered his head. Kale smiled. So, you've already broken 2 seals. He drew a long silver spear from his back. Its blade shimmered with ancient runes. I was hoping we wouldn't meet until much later. He pointed the spear toward Nyx. But now, there is only one way to decide her future. Noctis spread his enormous wings. Magic flooded the arena. Kale's golden eyes never left Nyx. Show me whether you're truly worthy of the first guardian. Kale's silver spear gleamed beneath the crystal light. The ancient runes carved into its blade pulsed with a soft blue glow, filling the arena with an oppressive pressure. Nyx instinctively took a step back. Umbra remained in his arms. She wasn't trembling. She wasn't frightened. She simply watched Kale with quiet curiosity. Meow. Kale smiled faintly. She's still innocent. Good. Nyx frowned. If you're here to hurt her, you'll have to go through me. Kale nodded. I know. The hunter slowly planted the butt of his spear against the stone floor. I've hunted mythical guardians for 20 years. I've crossed frozen kingdoms. I've sailed oceans filled with leviathans. I've climbed mountains no one else dared approach. His eyes never left Umbra. And after all that, I've finally found the only guardian capable of ending the age of monsters. Nyx shook his head. She's not a weapon. Kale sighed. That's exactly why you're weak. Without warning, Kale vanished. Nyx barely had time to blink. Clang! A wall of black ice erupted in front of him. Kale's spear struck it with incredible force. The impact shattered the arena floor. Nyx stared. Ice. Umbra looked down at her tiny paw. Blue frost shimmered around it. She had instinctively used the Frost Wolf's ability she'd absorbed. Kale smiled. Excellent reflexes, but instinct alone won't save you. He attacked again. This time, Noctis joined him. The great wyvern beat its wings. A hurricane exploded through the arena. Stone pillars snapped like twigs. Nyx struggled to remain standing. Umbra jumped from his arms. She landed gracefully. Tiny. Elegant. Her emerald eyes narrowed. Then, she disappeared. Crack! A burst of black mist erupted behind Noctis. Umbra reappeared above the wyvern's head. She gently tapped one silver horn. Meow! Noctis froze. His enormous golden eyes widened. Instead of attacking, he looked almost embarrassed. Kale laughed. You recognized her. Noctis slowly lowered his head. She smells. The dragon paused. Like home. Nyx looked between them. You knew each other? Kale nodded. Long ago. Noctis was one of the beasts the first guardian defeated. Nyx's eyes widened. But, he isn't afraid. No. Kale smiled. He admired her. Noctis looked at Umbra with quiet affection. She spared me. When every other beast fought until death. She let me live. Umbra blinked. She didn't remember. But somehow, she reached out one tiny paw and gently touched the dragon's nose. The old wyvern closed his eyes. A deep rumble escaped his chest. Not a roar. A purr. Suddenly, a thunderous crash echoed through the ruins. The ceiling split open. Chunks of crystal rained into the arena. The ghostly king appeared once more. His face was filled with horror. "They're here." Kale frowned. "I didn't bring anyone." Another explosion. This one was different. Far more violent. A scream echoed through the mountain. Not from a cat. From a beast. Then, the unmistakable sound of something enormous tearing through solid rock. Noctis growled. "Something ancient has awakened." The Ghost King looked devastated. "When you destroyed the outer seal." He looked at Kale. "You broke more than the entrance." Kale's expression changed. "What are you talking about?" "The prison." Silence. The prison beneath the ruins. A distant roar shook the mountain, so violently that every remaining crystal shattered. The Ghost King whispered. "It escaped." Far below, in the deepest chamber beneath the celestial ruins, two crimson eyes opened. Unlike Umbra's, these eyes held no kindness, only hunger. Massive chains snapped one after another. An enormous shadow slowly stood. Thousands of years of imprisonment had not weakened it. They had only made it angrier. A voice like grinding mountains echoed through the darkness. "Devourer." The creature inhaled deeply. It smiled. "I have found you again." The entire mountain shook. Ancient alarms echoed throughout every chamber. Emergency protocol. Void predator released. Threat level. The ancient system hesitated. Then, for the first time in thousands of years, its voice became frantic. "World extinction." Kale's confident expression disappeared completely. "What did we just release?" The Ghost King answered quietly. "The only beast that the first guardian could never bring herself to devour." Nyx looked down at Umbra. She was staring into the darkness below. Her ears flattened. For the first time, the tiny black cat looked frightened. Not for herself. For Nyx. She slowly walked over to him, pressed herself against his leg, and looked up with pleading emerald eyes, as if silently asking him, "Please don't let it take you from me." Nyx knelt and gently wrapped both arms around her. "I promise." His voice was steady despite the fear in his heart. "I won't leave you." A warm silver light surrounded the moonstone collar the old craftsman had given Umbra. The collar began to glow brighter, brighter, until a hidden inscription appeared around its inner band. Kale stepped closer. His eyes widened. "No, that collar." The Ghost King smiled through tears. "It was never ordinary. It was forged by the first guardian herself." Far below, the creature roared again. This time, the roar was answered. Across the forests, across the mountains, across the entire kingdom of Lamora, every magical beast lifted its head toward the sky, and one by one, they began running toward the celestial ruins. The roar rolled across the continent, not like thunder, like a command. Mountains trembled, rivers rippled, forests fell silent. Then, every magical beast in the kingdom of Lamora stopped what it was doing. Crystal wolves abandoned their hunts. Thunder griffins descended from the clouds. Stone titans climbed from sleeping mountains. Sea serpents surfaced from the deepest oceans. Even ancient dragons turned their heads toward the northern sky. They all felt it. Something that should have remained buried forever had awakened. Inside the celestial ruins, the emergency alarms continued echoing through every chamber. Void predator released. Evacuate immediately. Probability of survival. The ancient voice paused. 0%. Nyx looked toward the darkness below. "What is a void predator?" The Ghost King lowered his head. His transparent body trembled. "It has no true name. The survivors simply called it the endless hunger." Kale gripped his spear tighter. "I've studied every legendary beast. I've never heard of it." "You weren't supposed to." The Ghost King's voice became heavy with regret. History erased it. Because if anyone discovered it still existed, they might try to awaken it. Kale silently looked toward the abyss. Realization spread across his face. "I did exactly that." Far below, the sound of chains breaking continued. Clang, clang, clang. Each shattered chain shook the mountain. Nyx felt the vibration beneath his paws. Umbra slowly walked to the edge of the enormous pit. Her ears flattened. Her tail stopped moving. She wasn't looking down. She was remembering. Tiny flashes, a battlefield, a sky burning crimson, an enormous creature made of living darkness, its body constantly changing, growing, consuming everything around it. Cities, mountains, even magic itself. Umbra winced. Mew. A tear rolled down one emerald eye. Nyx immediately picked her up. "Hey, it's all right." She buried her face into his chest, purring softly. Nyx stroked her long, silky fur. "You don't have to remember everything today. You've got me." Umbra slowly looked up. MRP. Her purring grew louder. The Ghost King watched quietly. "Remarkable." Kale frowned. "What?" "I've seen the first guardian in countless memories." The king smiled. "I've never seen her seek comfort from anyone." Another explosion. This one wasn't beneath them. It came from outside. The ceiling collapsed. Sunlight poured into the ancient arena. Noctis looked skyward. Then his eyes widened. They're here. Hundreds. No. Thousands. Of magical beasts surrounded the celestial mountain. But they weren't attacking. They formed a giant circle around it. Every species imaginable stood together. Dragons. Phoenixes. Direwolves. Crystal bears. Thunderhawks. Ancient mammoths. Creatures that normally fought one another now stood shoulder to shoulder. All of them, looking toward the mountain. Nyx whispered, "They came because of the void, Predator." The Ghost King nodded. "No. They came because of her." He looked at Umbra. "They remember." A massive golden griffin stepped forward. Its feathers shimmered like liquid sunlight. Without hesitation, it lowered itself onto one knee. Then a frost dragon. Then a mountain titan. One after another. Every legendary beast bowed. The earth itself seemed to bend beneath the weight of their respect. Nyx couldn't believe what he was seeing. "They're not afraid." The Ghost King smiled. "They're grateful." Suddenly, the mountain exploded. A pillar of black energy shot into the heavens. Clouds spiraled around it. The ground split apart. Something enormous slowly emerged from beneath the ruins. At first, Nyx thought it was a mountain. Then, the mountain opened its eyes. Crimson, endless, hungry. The creature's body constantly shifted. Sometimes it resembled a wolf, then a dragon, then a serpent, then something with far too many eyes. Its shape refused to remain the same. Looking at it for too long made Nyx's head ache. Even Noctis took a step backward. The void predator smiled. Its voice echoed directly inside every living mind. "Little devourer." Its countless eyes focused on Umbra. "You have finally awakened." Umbra trembled, not from fear, from memory. She slowly climbed out of Nyx's arms, walked toward the monster. "Umbra!" She stopped, looked back at him. Their eyes met. Then, for the first time, she spoke, not telepathically, not inside his mind, with her own gentle voice. "Nyx!" Silence. Nyx froze. You can talk." Umbra smiled. Her voice was soft, almost musical. She struggled with the words. "Remember." She touched her forehead. "A little." Nyx's eyes filled with tears. Umbra looked at him with all the warmth of the little kitten he loved from the start. Then she whispered, "Thank you." Those two simple words struck harder than any battle. She remembered. Not everything, but she remembered him. The void predator laughed. The sound made the sky darken. "How touching. You still cling to weak creatures." Umbra turned slowly. The warmth vanished from her expression. Her emerald eyes became calm, focused, resolute. The void predator spread enormous wings that blotted out the sun. "Devour him," it grinned. "Or watch him die." Nyx stepped beside Umbra. He didn't summon a weapon. He didn't hide behind her. He simply placed one hand gently on her shoulder. "We face it together." Umbra looked at him, then smiled. A real smile. Not the smile of the first guardian. Not the smile of the devourer. The smile of the little black kitten who had once fallen asleep in a bowl of cream. Together. At that moment, every beast surrounding the mountain roared as one. Not in fear, not in anger, but in defiance. The final battle for the kingdom of Umbra had begun. The skies above Umbra turned black. Not with storm clouds, with wings. Thousands of magical beasts filled the heavens, circling the celestial ruins. No dragon attacked. No griffin screamed. No wolf charged. They all stood together, waiting, watching, praying, because every creature alive understood one terrifying truth. If the void predator won, there would be no tomorrow. The monster slowly descended from the shattered mountain. Its body constantly changed shape. One moment it resembled a dragon. The next, a giant wolf. Then countless claws emerged before melting back into darkness. It had no true form, only endless hunger. Its countless crimson eyes settled on Umbra. "Do you remember now?" Umbra stood silently beside Nyx. A gentle breeze carried through her long black fur. The silver moonstone collar around her neck shimmered softly. She looked at the monster, then quietly answered, "I remember." She closed her eyes. "What you took?" The creature laughed. "I took nothing. I merely consumed." Images flashed through Umbra's mind. Thousands of years ago, she had defeated every monster that threatened the world. Every tyrant, every dragon, every titan. Only one enemy remained. The void predator. Unlike every other beast, it couldn't simply be defeated. Every time it devoured another creature, it copied its abilities. Its strength multiplied forever. It was a reflection of Umbra herself. The only difference, Umbra absorbed power to protect. The void predator consumed everything to satisfy its endless hunger. After weeks of battle, Umbra had finally trapped it beneath the celestial ruins. Then, the king sealed both of them, the monster, and the guardian who had saved them all. Umbra slowly opened her eyes. "I remember." The void predator smiled. "Good. Then you remember." Its countless mouths grinned. "That you cannot defeat me." Kale stepped forward. "No." He spun his silver spear. "You won't fight alone." Noctis roared. The ancient wyvern launched into the sky. Hundreds of dragons followed. The golden griffin spread its radiant wings. Crystal wolves formed ranks across the valley. Stone titans stood shoulder to shoulder. For the first time in history, predators and prey stood together. Not because someone forced them, because they chose to. The void predator laughed louder. Its body expanded. Dark tendrils erupted across the battlefield. They struck the nearest beasts. Every creature they touched began losing its strength. A thunder griffin collapsed. A crystal bear stumbled. A young dragon cried out as streams of golden light were ripped from its body. The monster wasn't simply attacking. It was feeding, growing larger with every passing second. Nyx looked around desperately. If this keeps happening, it'll become unstoppable. Umbra stepped forward. No. Her voice remained calm. It only grows, while others fight it. Nyx frowned. What does that mean? Umbra smiled sadly. It wants everyone. It always has. She looked into his emerald eyes. I have to face it alone. Nyx immediately shook his head. No. I promised. We face it together. Umbra's eyes softened. She gently placed one paw in his hand. You already kept your promise. The void predator charged. The earth split apart beneath its weight. Entire cliffs crumbled. The sky darkened. Umbra ran to meet it. Tiny, elegant, beautiful. Against a monster larger than a castle. They collided. The impact shook the entire kingdom. The battle was unlike anything Nyx had ever witnessed. The void predator unleashed storms of black fire. Umbra absorbed the flames. It attacked with lightning. She devoured the lightning. It summoned crystal spikes. She absorbed their magic. Every attack made her stronger. Every attack made the monster stronger too. Neither could overpower the other. Kale slowly lowered a spear. There! Equal! The Ghost King nodded. They always were. Minutes passed. Then hours seemed to blur into moments. Neither guardian fell. Neither retreated. Finally, the void predator smiled. You know how this ends. Its body suddenly split apart into thousands of shadows. Every shadow rushed toward Nyx. Not Umbra. Nyx. Umbra's eyes widened. Nyx! She disappeared, reappearing between Nyx and the attack. Every shadow struck her instead. The silver moonstone collar cracked. Then shattered. Umbra fell to one knee. Darkness spread across her beautiful black fur. The void predator laughed. Just like before. You always choose someone else over yourself. Nyx caught her before she hit the ground. No. No, no, no. Umbra looked up. She smiled weakly. I'm okay. You are not okay. He held her tightly. Tears fell onto her fur. I won't lose you. Umbra looked at the tears rolling down his face. Something inside her changed. For thousands of years, she had protected the world. Kings. Kingdoms. Strangers. None had ever cried because they were afraid of losing her. Only because they feared losing her power. Nyx was different. He wasn't afraid for the kingdom. He wasn't afraid of the monster. He was afraid. For her. Umbra gently wiped one of his tears with her paw. Then she stood. The darkness covering her fur slowly faded. Not because of magic. Because of choice. She turned toward the void predator. No. The monster frowned. No. Umbra nodded. I finally understand. She smiled. I was never strongest because I could devour power. The entire battlefield fell silent. I was strongest because I always had something worth protecting. Her emerald eyes met Nyx's. And now, I have someone. The crescent mark on her forehead glowed brighter than the sun. Every remaining seal shattered at once. Not with an explosion. With a whisper. Light surrounded Umbra. Her body grew. Not into a monster. Into the majestic guardian from the ancient murals. A magnificent celestial black lioness with flowing midnight fur, enormous feathered wings dusted with silver starlight, and emerald eyes filled with warmth rather than wrath. She was breathtaking. Powerful beyond imagination. Yet when she looked at Nyx, she still smiled exactly like the tiny kitten who had chased butterflies. The void predator roared and unleashed everything it had. Every stolen power. Every devoured ability. Every ounce of darkness. Umbra spread her wings. She didn't dodge. She didn't counterattack. She inhaled. Devour. The battlefield became silent. Every strand of darkness. Every stolen ability. Every corrupted fragment of magic flowed into Umbra. The void predator screamed. For the first time in thousands of years, it was the one being consumed. Not its life. Its hunger. Its corruption. Its endless greed. The darkness peeled away layer by layer until, standing where the monster had once towered, was a frightened little gray kitten. No larger than Umbra had been on the day they met. It looked around in confusion. Mew. The entire kingdom stared. The Ghost King whispered. So that was its original form. Umbra gently walked over. The little gray kitten trembled, expecting revenge. Instead, Umbra touched noses with it, just as she had done with the mossback boar. She smiled. You're free. Golden sunlight broke through the clouds. The darkness vanished. The beasts across the valley roared in celebration. Dragons soared through the skies. Griffins danced upon the wind. Flowers bloomed across the shattered battlefield. The age of fear had ended. Several months later, Moonwhisper Village was peaceful once again. Children laughed in the blossom fields. The Royal Guardian Academy had changed its entrance forever. Above the gate was a new inscription. Judge no guardian by its first form. Headmaster Aurelius personally invited Nyx to become an instructor. Nyx smiled politely. I'd rather travel. Kale laughed. I thought you'd say that. The former hunter had become the kingdom's chief protector, working alongside Noctis to help rebuild the lands damaged by the battle. As for Umbra, she could still become the magnificent celestial guardian whenever she wished. But most days, she preferred being small. She preferred curling up on Nyx's shoulder, stealing fish from his lunch, falling asleep in warm patches of sunlight, and pretending she couldn't catch butterflies, even though everyone now knew she absolutely could. Nyx scratched behind her ears. You know, I still think you were perfect. The day we met, Umbra purred, then looked up at him with sparkling emerald eyes. I know. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the first guardian slept peacefully.